Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe. If you dare. Showed her the submitted assignment and the web page printout, and her answer was that her son had actually written the Wikipedia entry, so it wasn't plagiarism at all. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. For those teachers out there, what are some stories about horrible parents you've had to deal with? Number 1. A student of mine, first grade, came to school every day without a jacket, and when asked about it, he told me his jacket was too small and his family couldn't afford a bigger one. When winter came around, I raided the closet in the front office for a donated jacket for him. He lucked out, and there was a brand new jacket with matching hat and mittens in there, so I put them in a box I had laying around, and tucked them in his backpack. They were a little big, so I hoped he'd grow into them. I told him there was a present for him in his backpack, but to wait until he got home to open it, as not to leave him vulnerable to questions and taunting from his classmates. The next day was warmer, so I wasn't shocked to see him without the coat. However, what was shocking was that his mother showed up at pickup in the family's SUV, wearing the jacket. I had to have a talk with the poor guy and arrange for a recess jacket for him that he left in his cubby so his mom wouldn't take another one. Number 2. My mom is a kindergarten teacher, and she had this one terrible student who not only kicked her in the face while she was helping him with his work, but he actually stole her digital camera from her desk drawer. She keeps it at work to take pictures of kids' projects and events and stuff, to share with parents. His parents suggested that my mom shouldn't bend down to help students lest she be within kicking range, and to leave her valuables at home. Number 3. I don't think I have any worse stories. Mostly I notice a lot of trends. Parents are starting to tell teachers not to bother them with details about their child's education. Little Johnny is failing. Why are you calling me about that? I also notice quite a number of parents who don't try to discipline their children at all. I had a student who was doing poorly and was always falling asleep in class. I called the father to notify him about the marks, and to suggest that maybe he needed more sleep. The father said, "What am I supposed to do about that?" It's actually quite a common statement. The parents that bothered me the most were the parents of a boy with special needs. Every day they sent him the same lunch, macaroni with nothing on it. I asked them at the first conference why they did this, and his mom said, "It's not like he'll notice." It was sad because he really did notice. When we had special lunch days he would get so excited about hot dogs or pizza. It's indicative of how they treated him overall. They didn't try to engage or stimulate him at all. The boy with special needs wasn't autistic, he didn't have a preference for macaroni, and the parents were not poor. Number 4. I was one of 4 teachers in a conference with Dee's mother and a school counselor. I was the last of the teachers to talk, but I said much the same as the other teachers. Dee skips class all the time, yells out constantly, never does his work, and regularly calls you over to ask questions before farting. Dee was awful. Who behaves like that in 10th grade? Anyway, after all 4 of the teachers said essentially the same thing, Dee's mom looked at the counselor and asked, "I don't understand why all these teachers lied to my son." Number 5. Not from a classroom. So far I have no nightmare parents I've had to directly deal with from teaching practicums. I had this one parent of a kid in my Girl Guide unit who was just awful. When we first met her kid, she would always ask questions about everything, didn't listen to instructions, and would then ask questions about everything she missed, and was generally clueless. Then we met her mother and it all made sense. The first time we met her she tried to sell us life insurance, that was her job, and in the first 5 minutes of talking to her she started about 4 topics yet never finished any of them. She drove around in an uninsured car, the irony, and would often offer to pick up/drop off other people's kids as well. She was also always late for everything, last to drop off, last to pick up. Here's where the story gets even worse. I guess she used to homeschool her kids, scary to think about. In grade 1 she put her kid in public school. Every time she had a problem with the school her kid attended, she pulled her kid from the school and moved her to another school. It got to the point where the kid had gone to 4 different schools in less than a year, her learning was severely behind, and it was hard to make and keep friends. I feel so sorry for whatever poor teachers had to deal with this mom. Number 6. I was a humanities teacher briefly. Had a meeting with the mother of a boy due to his ongoing behavior problems in class. Bright kid, very creative, just couldn't stop distracting some of his classmates. No biggie really. Mom brought our meeting to a premature end by announcing reading is for fags and storming out of the room, yanking her kid along behind her. Number 7. My mom is a special education teacher. She had a parent-teacher meeting with the parent of a severely disturbed young man with multiple problems. During the conference, the mother casually asked, "I'm not really sure, but do you think that maybe the reason my son has so many problems is because I smoked meth every day while pregnant with him?" The whole room was in stunned silence for about 30 seconds, before my mom piped up with "Yes." Number 8. Most laughable experience I've had was with a plagiarism case. Kid had ripped his entire essay off the net. I'd googled a few sentences from his assignment and found the page he got the stuff from, printed it out so the kid could see that the 2 copies were word for word. He vehemently denied it, so got his mom in for an interview. Showed her the submitted assignment and the web page printout, and her answer was that her dopey 15-year-old son had actually written the Wikipedia entry on the Treaty of Versailles, so it wasn't plagiarism at all. Nothing like supportive parents. Number 9. I could list all of the terrible phone calls, conferences, and emails where parents blame everything except their child's actions for the reason they are in trouble. They are so numerous, I can't even begin to count them. The one that is different from all of those, and the only one like it that I have encountered, was with one of my AP English students. Typical parent-teacher conference. AP parents were flying in and out, since almost all the kids are doing well. This one super sweet girl and her mother come in and sit down. I tell them she has a 99% in the class. 99% total. As in an A+. Without missing a beat, the mom looks at her daughter with a big-time attitude and says, "What can we do to get that up to a 100? My mouth dropped. I said, "Well, we still have half a semester, so there is time for extra credit," and then I made the mistake of adding, "But you know, a 99 is really great." That was a mistake. The mom jumps out of her chair and starts yelling at me that I should mind my own business, and that she has high expectations for her daughter, in order to become something more than just a high school teacher. Number 10. I had a student that didn't show up to my class for 3/4 of the year. During parent/teacher night in spring, she came in. I tell her that her kid rarely comes to class and it may be beyond the point of being saved. The mother explains to me that her kid thinks it's too early and that I needed to give up my lunch later in the day to teach her kids so they didn't have to wake so early. I told her that I wouldn't be doing that and that I would buy her kid an alarm clock if it came down to that. She took offense and said that I was being a selfish asshole. Other than that, my students' parents are pretty awesome. Number 11. A story from my friend who's a high school teacher. A student turned in an exam with suspiciously similar solutions to a person near them. From past performance and the seating arrangement, it was clear which one of them was copying. My friend had some other teachers look through the exams to see if they would notice the same thing, which they all did. The student's mother came in and said that the teacher just didn't like her daughter, and was just accusing her of cheating, for that reason. When the principal, or VP, said that several other teachers agreed with the assessment that her daughter had cheated, the mother said, "Well, then the teacher put her next to a good student to force her to cheat so she would get in trouble." Number 12. My mother is a teacher. This is only the worst one, there are more. She was teaching a class in elementary school that had a severely mentally handicapped girl in it. I'm talking constantly drooling, unable to form words, just grunts and moans and yells. She clearly belonged in special ed, but her parents refused. They insisted she be put in a normal class, because she does not need special ed. The classes were completely useless for her, and her noise and mess seriously disrupted the education of 30 other students. The school even had to pay an aide to be with her all day, because she could not take care of herself. When the school finally decided to go ahead and put her in special ed, the parents sued the district. Because their 12-year-old with the mentality of a 3 to 4-year-old did not belong in special ed in their minds. Teachers had to spend their days in court instead of their classes, and my mom had to deal with lawyers and parents telling her she had no idea what was best for their kid. Number 13. My dad is a principal and once suspended a girl for wearing a shirt that showed her whole stomach and then refused to put on another shirt to cover herself up. This was not her first or her worst offense, and he was fed up. The parents come in to discuss the situation. The dad didn't want to believe his daughter should be suspended, so he attempted to lunge at my dad and fight him. I can't remember, but I think the dad ended up getting arrested. My story isn't so bad, but I worked with a parent who was really racist and tried to build a completely ridiculous case about why her son couldn't work with our black instructors. She wouldn't even look at them. Other than that, I'm constantly dealing with parents who are completely in denial about their children's abilities and have insane expectations, which is pretty horrible. Number 14. A friend of my mom's once told me that when she worked briefly as a headmistress, Two sisters about 7 and 8 years old showed up at school with scars, bruises and blood on their clothes. Police were called and tests were run on the little girls. It turned out they both had been raped several times, possibly by their father. She told me that she didn't know why, but the girls weren't taken away immediately after this. The mom was called to school. The principal told her that she wanted to know what was up with her girls, because they suspected they had been raped by their dad. The mom scoffed and answered, well, they better learn from their dad before they learn from some random dude they met on the streets. Every time I remember this story it makes me sick to my stomach. How could someone be so f up and heartless? After this, my mom's friend stopped working as a headmistress, and instead went back to being a teacher. She said that you still get crazy parents from time to time, but at least she doesn't have to deal with them. Number 15. My first, and only, year teaching 8th grade was a doozy. I was 21, and all my energy/excitement about teaching was quickly zapped by parents dead set on proving me incapable of doing my job. I had parents send graded papers back to me with my comments corrected and challenged. One day, I was called into the headmaster's office to discuss my use of foul language in the classroom after a parent learned I had told a kid to stop dorking around. The worst, by far, was a mother who somehow got my cell number and just constantly harassed me at the end of the year because she wanted her child to get a, wholly undeserved, A. This mother had a reputation, but I was in no way prepared for her full-out abuse. When her daughter, whom I had repeatedly suggested receiving some kind of outside academic assistance, ended up with a generous B in the class, she just lost it. I was visiting my sick grandmother when she started texting me, demanding to see the final exams. Being as they were final exams, I was not intending to return them to students. However, this woman had the headmaster so wrapped up in her crazy that he called and requested that I have my landlord open my house door so someone could grab the exams while I was out of town. This is on top of the mom's texting messages like, "You will never work again. And those tests are mine, I paid for them, I want what I deserve." Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.